This is a beautiful North Third Reservoir, fed from the Touch of Dam Moor, 400 metres up in the Touch Hills to the south west of Stirling. Built in 1911, at one point it was delivering over 9 million litres of water a day. Although no longer used for that purpose, it is popular as a fishery and with cyclists and walkers alike for the beautiful scenery in the area. Now, after our last Spirit of Scotland video, a number of people asked me, where is the Bannockburn fed from, and is it the same today as it was in 1314? Well, over the years, the Bannockburn fed a number of corn mills and woolen mills, and water would be taken off for that purpose, and some lost to nature, I'm sure. But today it is fed from the North Third Reservoir, and it exits the reservoir at the dam head here, purely as the Bannockburn. So I'm sure the reservoir must put a bit of a restriction on the flows of water to enable it to keep its levels. As we fly over there, today we see the source of the Bannockburn from the North Third Reservoir as it exits eastward down towards the Carshlands as it meanders its way towards its confluence with the River Forth. So we'll leave North Third and we'll head down to the Carshlands, and we will have a look at the confluence and as to whether it played any significant part in the Battle of Bannockburn on the 24th of June 1314. So here we are, arriving down in flat Carshlands. You can see in the distance there the Wallace Monument, and as we turn the corner, the beautiful Ochil Hills. What a view. And if you can notice, down on the Carshlands, which here are to the north of the Pell Stream and beyond the Bannockburn, as we head down to the confluence with the River Forth, you can see just how flat the Carshlands are here, and how conducive it would be to heavy cavalry use. We will look into whether that was used for that purpose, or perhaps this was just a route that the routed English soldiers took as they fled the battlefield on the 24th of June 1314. Hello, hope this finds you well. I've come back down to the Bannockburn, following on from our previous video, when someone asked me, Mark, the Bannockburn looks very narrow there. Would that really pose a significant obstacle to anybody trying to get across it? Well, the Bannockburn starts up in the hills to the south of Stirling, and obviously it flows down to its estuary with the Forth. And it's down at the estuary that you may get a better idea of the Bannockburn and what it was like back in 1314. Today's flows of the burn will probably be restricted by the reservoir and other drainage and water take-off that's been happening throughout the years. So it's down here you might get an idea. And I keep coming back to the chronicler Lanarcost, who said words to the effect of, they crossed the Bannockburn into which the tide flows. So was that significant? Or was he just saying, you know, they crossed the Bannockburn, and by the way, the tide flows into it at some point? I don't know, but we'll look further into that. We really need to. But I've brought you down to this area. It's about maybe 600 metres south of the estuary of the Bannockburn with the River Forth. And in 1314, this is where the estuary would have been. This would have been the entrance into the Forth. It would have been very marshy down here, because these bankings have been built up over the years by farmers, and it pushes the estuary further, 500-600 yards further down, so that the farmers over the years have reclaimed back some land. So there's a lot of reclaimed land down here. But if you look at the Bannockburn here, you'll see just how wide it is for a start, and how muddy those banks are. Also mentioned by one of the chroniclers. Now, anyone with a horse coming down here is simply not getting across that. And even a man in light armour is struggling. Those bankings on the other bank there, I mean, they must be 8 to 10 feet high in areas. And if this tide's in, probably the only way of getting across it with the tide in would be to strip off and swim it. But at low tide, muddy, slippy, with thousands of angry Scottish soldiers on your tail, the English were not getting out of here very easy. As the chronicler said, most of those who entered the ditch died in the ditch, and those who did get out got out with great difficulty. So there perhaps you can see just how difficult it would have been. I'll go up to other bits of the burn down in this area, and I've got to ask myself, did any of the battle take place in the vicinity of this area? My initial thoughts are it's too far out of the way, but this might be an area that certainly captured a lot of fleeing English once the rout was in full flow and they fled the battle scene. So let's go look at some other areas and see what kind of conclusion we can come to. Is this the tidal area of the burn that Lanarcost talked about? As we spin around and we look at the golden barley fields there, we can see an area that was once flooded regularly by the rising tides of the Forth and has been reclaimed as the years have gone by. There we see the Bannockburn winding its way down to the confluence with the Forth. Beautiful Ochil Hills in the background, rising steeply out of the escarpment. What a beautiful area we live in. And as we head towards the confluence with the Forth, you see there the yellow banking just to the left of the Bannockburn, that raised area, which then takes a 90-degree turn to the left. Farmers over the years have built that up to stop the tide waters from the Bannockburn and the Forth flooding the fields there. Looking west, we see Stirling Castle, perched on its rock on the right hand side of your screen. And look at just how flat the Carse is here. Now Richard Tipping, Stirling University, done a study on this area, the whole of the Carse, and concluded that this was good, hard standing ground. Hadn't been subject to any peat layers. May have had pools of water on it, but no peat, and would have been ideal for cavalry. William Mackenzie wrote a book, The Battle of Bannockburn, a study in medieval warfare, and he concluded that the English camp was down here and that the battle took place somewhere in this area on the 24th of June 1314. I'll put up his map so you can have a look. There you can clearly see where he has the English camp. We'll look further at William Mackenzie, for the book he wrote was very informative and well written. And we'll look at others, such as William Scott, who brought together a marvellous library of material and came to a conclusion that he thought the battle was in the Bing area. And I think most people today would agree with that. But as we fly gently over the Carse, with the Stirling Castle in the background today, we can just marvel at the beauty of the area we stay in. We will look further at Mackenzie and Scott and other historians such as Fiona Watson, and at the end of looking at all that under weight of evidence, we will conclude where we think the Battle of Bannockburn was.